Hi friends, it's Deanna Willison with our Blooming Catholic Life. And you know, I'm a secular Franciscan. We are an international group. Well, how are we going to talk to each other? So a lot of us try and do things like learn languages. We all know I've tried using apps and textbooky things, and this is something new I've tried. I found it on vacation. It's a part of a Teach Yourself series. It's short stories this one's in Spanish, and it does say it's for beginners, and it's volume 1. Olly Richards has a number of these. It says, read for pleasure at your own level and learn Spanish the fun way. Not sure about this picture. Okay, so let's just talk briefly about the content. I'm only one chapter of one book in. I have perused the vocabulary on the back. It's quite an extensive vocabulary, but there's only one expression that leads me to believe maybe there's something in here about dating. And the picture on the front makes me wonder that as well. I haven't run into any questionable content yet. If you have, let me know in the comments below. But so far, it seems like a good, clean story. The one I'm reading is about a brother and sister who are exchange students. So let's dive in, do our book walk, and see what we have here. It does tell you the best-selling Teach Yourself range of language courses will advance your skills across 4 core areas: reading, writing, listening, and speaking, and to take you from absolute beginner to confident speaker in no time. Courses are available in over 60 languages, and a collection of language reference products will support your learning. They are an audio, book, ebook, or app, however you prefer to learn. Hey, that's great to know. You can get an app. So it's a different app. I know a lot of people have problems with that Green Owl app that has some content that is inappropriate for some learners. The series editor is Rebecca Moeller. The development editor is Maria Blanco Ermita. And again, this is by Olly Richards. The table, copyrighted in 2018, so a fairly current book. I have added some pencil lines because really the book is in 3 sections. This is what you should read before you begin. If you already have one book in this series, you may not need to read that. Then here are the simple stories. And then this is an appendix section. We have the answer key to questions. There's a glossary and some acknowledgments. So in the read this before all else, we have about the author, the introduction, how to read effectively, and the 6-step reading process. Then the stories are La Paella Loca, which is just the crazy paella. I think it has something to do with a restaurant. I don't know what creature is. Caballero, that's not like a horse, so what is it? El reloj, is that a watch or a gift? I always get those 2 words mixed up. El cofre, I'm not sure, but it sounds like coffee. We'll find out later. Tierras de Concidias. Hey, Tierra, maybe that's a princess? I don't know. Laura la Mujer Invisible. Laura the Invisible Woman, and then La Capsula. I don't know, maybe it's a time capsule. Then we have the answer key, the glossary, and acknowledgments. And you'll see I'm trying to incorporate already one of the reading strategies. I'm just kind of skimming over, trying to make guesses as to what the stories are about. But wait, the author wants to say, don't forget the audio. You are going to improve your pronunciation and overall comprehension by listening to the stories read aloud. There is audio to accompany this course. You can find it at readers.teachyourself.com, and you can download the accompanying app. There is a code in the book for how to get 50% off any purchase. So good there. Just to note, I did buy this book new. It did not come in any plastic wrap. It came exactly as it looks here. A little bit about the author. Olly Richards is the author of the Teach Yourself Foreign Language Graded Readers series. He speaks 8 languages and is the man behind the popular language learning blog known as I Will Teach You a Language. He started learning foreign languages at 19 by buying a one-way ticket to Paris. He had no exposure to languages growing up and no special talent. He had to figure out how to learn a language. It talks about all the degrees and the certifications he's gotten since then. In 2013, he started the I Will Teach You a Language blog to document his language learning experiments. And he's got all kinds of tips and resources now on the web. including the Teach Yourself Foreign Language Graded Reader Series and Short Stories in Spanish for Beginners, which is a part of that. Oops. The introduction. It tells you that reading in a foreign language is one of the most effective ways for you to improve language skills and expand your vocabulary. But it can sometimes be difficult to find engaging reading materials at an appropriate level that provides a feeling of achievement and a sense of progress. Most books and articles written for native speakers are too long and difficult to understand or have a high level of vocabulary, and you may be tempted to just give up. If these problems sound familiar, this book may be for you. It is a collection of 8 unconventional and entertaining short stories designed to help beginner to low intermediate level Spanish learners. So if you have looked at, I know a lot of the apps will tell you this level. This is the CEFR level A2 to B1. I know I'm in A2, so I'm at the lowest one. That's why I'm not doing, I wouldn't say I understood every single word, but I understood that first chapter pretty well. Lets you know this is Peninsular Spanish, which is the kind of Spanish spoken in the Iberian Peninsula. Now, the app I had been using, I was studying Central and South American Spanish, and so I could still understand a lot of this. There may be some expressions or things that are different, but I think you still should be able to figure it out. It does say it has interesting illustrations to introduce the story content and to help you understand what happens. There are shorter stories broken into chapters, so you have that little dopamine hit of satisfaction. The texts are written at your level so that you can comprehend them and not be overwhelmed. The special learning aids are summaries, vocabulary lists, and comprehension questions. So, as well as the vocabulary at the end of the book, there's some at the end of each of the chapters, and the vocabulary will build from story 1 to story 8. So you're going to expand your vocabulary as you go on. The comprehension questions are pretty easy. They're just testing to see if you know the key events, not the minute details, but the key events of that story. And it's kind of like giving yourself a little high five, and you're like, hey, I did get that. I did understand that. Yeah, and then you're kind of ready to go to the next one. But wait, let's read the section on how to read effectively. It lets you know that in your first language, when you learn to read, you employ a number of strategies. Well, you're older normally when you go to learn a new language, and you may have forgotten all these strategies or how to use them. And so this book is going to reintroduce them to you. It says, like, enjoyment and a sense of achievement when reading is vitally important. The more you read, the more you will learn. You must accept that you won't understand everything you read in a story. So you're going to do some techniques, like looking at the word first and see if it's familiar in any way. You're going to, and I'm just reading you the bullet points. There's expansions on all these. Reread the sentence that contains the unknown word several times. Think about whether or not the word might be a different form of a word you do know. And if you still don't know it, make a note of it in a little notebook. Now, I picked this tiny little notebook because it's, similar in color. So I thought that would be an easy little notebook to do. They said if you absolutely have to know the meaning of one of the bolded words in the story, that's one of your vocabulary words. You know the bolded ones are going to be in the back of the book. And you can look at the glossary if you really have to, but that should be your last resort. But it is there. So then it gives you the 6-step absolute reading process. They want you to look at the illustration at the beginning and read the chapter title and think about what the story might be about. Then read the chapter the whole way through. When you get to the end of the chapter, read the summary plot to see if you have understood the key parts of what have happened. Go back and read the same chapter again. Read the summary again, then look at the vocabulary list. Next, you're going to work through the comprehension questions. Again, it's key events, not minute details. And then at that point, you should have some understanding. And if you do, great. If you don't, you would have written down in your notebook some things that you didn't understand, whether they're words or phrases, or maybe they're things that were new to you and you're finding a bit challenging. Go ahead and write them down. And when you're feeling a little bit more confident about them, because remember, our vocabulary is going to increase and build as we go further along. So if it's something you're really stumbling on, you may want to write it in your notebook to review. And when you feel a little confident, go ahead and move on to the next chapter. Only once you have completed a story in its entirety should you consider going back and studying the story language in more depth if you wish to. Don't worry about understanding everything until you get to the end, congratulate yourself for having done that. You should have a sense of satisfaction. Then you can go back and mine it for more details if you really want. I did notice on this very first one, I made a note to myself. This picture I think is for the entire story. They only give you a picture at the beginning of a story, not the beginning of a chapter, every single chapter. So this, I was expecting it had something to do. I can see it says La Paella Loca. Paella, is that how you say it? And it says Ristorante. So it has something to do with a restaurant, and they're clearly loading things. He's wearing a weightlifting belt. So he's loading things, and this looks like a young traveler who's asking for questions. So I thought this might have something to do with a young traveler. And in fact, it does. There's a young traveler in the book. He says, my name is Daniel. And so maybe that's Daniel, but what it has to do with people loading or unloading a restaurant truck, I have no idea. It's not in chapter 1. I will tell you that. It's the name of the story and the name on the truck, and it did not come up at all. I was a little surprised, but perhaps it was just to introduce us to young Daniel here. And you'll notice the page numbers are usually in the bottom corner, and it tells you on, oh, interesting. So it's the name of the chapter is on the right-hand page. When you have a left-hand page, it's going to be the name of the story over here and the name of the chapter over there. Interesting. So it'll say Capitulo 4, so chapter 4. You can see here. This does have some of the vocabulary and the summary. I think this is the summary and the vocabulary are here. It must have been right at the end of one. And then we have our little comprehension questions. You can see they're multiple choice, and they run the numbering throughout the story. I think they start again for the new story. I can check that super quick. Yeah, they'll start again. So they're numbered sequentially throughout the story. So this is a new chapter, the last chapter of the book, and it's starting with 16 there. But when we start the new story, this one involves a cabin. Maybe that word means the creature. That would make sense. That looks like a saying, maybe that's a hike. And he does look like he's wearing a backpack. I'm not really sure. So, but what are they doing at the building? It looks like she's peeking in the windows there. I don't know. But you can see here the bolded words. Those are going to be our vocabulary. I know this one. Ooh, I don't know the other two, so I'm kind of excited to work. Oh, I know that one. I don't know that one. So I know a couple of the vocabulary words just looking. And that's exciting because they're not the regular words of the story. Those are the vocabulary words. So I'm a little excited. I went back and underlined those ones in the story that I did that I had difficulty with because I didn't have the notebook yet. So I underlined them in pencil, and I can go back now and do them. It's funny, I've written the comprehension questions on a small piece of paper. I had to use that for something else, so I erased them. So I'll have to go back and do those again. Anything else you want to see? Yeah, let's look at those sections in the back. I had expected the summary to say summary in English, and it didn't, but it didn't take me long to figure out that must be summary, right? And that these must be the comprehension questions. I know this is questions. It says questions of choice multiple. So they're multiple choice questions. It doesn't say comprehension. Vocabulario, I figured that word out pretty quick as well. Let's see here. It should be easy to flip back to the back and see. Can I hold it up without showing you? Answer key and glossary are in English, though, just to mess with you. It has the name of the story. Here, I can show you me. Hold on. If I hold it up slowly. It's the name of the story and the name of the chapter, and then it gives you the answers. Okay. So let's flip over to look at the glossary. Standard looking little glossary there, right? Sometimes it's whole expressions, not just a single word, so that's helpful. Yeah, there was one thing back here that I wasn't sure what it was about. I think these are probably modest stories. I'm going to have to go ahead and guess. If anyone knows, put it below. When I finish the book, I'll try and remember to come back and get it. And it does tell you that there is a bonus story. It has something to do with a dragon that you're going to get for free. So I hope this little review helps you out. You can get study on your first one. I'll give you I do believe this means the airplane or the flight. So where's Daniel is looking like, this is Daniel. I guess that's Daniel. And what's Daniel doing with a restaurant truck? I have no idea yet. We're going to have to find out together. I hope this little review has blessed you in some way. And again, one of the things is the expressions that we use in some of the apps. They teach you such silly sentences that you would never use, and sometimes it's fairly annoying. These are real life situations in this story, and that's part of what I like about this, is conversations that you may have with people. I hope this has blessed you in some way, and I hope to see you on Friday for our practical theology. God bless.